I'm Eric Miscoll, publisher of EMS Now, and welcome to this edition of the virtual Eric Miscoll Show. We appreciate our audience taking time today to join in on this conversation. We're running them a little later than normal because, of course, well, it's late here in the United States, it's early somewhere else in the world, that being in Asia, where our guests are located today. So, and one of those guests, of course, as always, is Phil Stoughton, my co-host, tuning in from Australia for us. The focus of our discussion today is going to be on what's happening in China, the EMS industry in China. We've done a lot of these shows. There's always reference to China, what's going on, but we thought it would be important to actually hear from some people who are on the ground working in the industry there. And so to that end, we've invited the two gentlemen you see other than Phil on the screen. Let me introduce them just briefly. We have Derrick Zhao, who is the China Managing Director for Supply Chain Resources Group. And we have Chadwick Zhu, the CEO of Shenzhen Valley Ventures. Both gentlemen are located this morning, at least, in Shenzhen. So gentlemen, thank you both for taking your time and participating in this today.
Thank you.
I'd like to begin by asking each of you to provide an introduction to yourselves and your organizations for the benefit of our audience. And Chad, why don't I start with you on that one, sir?
Yeah, what I want to build is to create a different model of manufacturing, the mission, EMS. I myself used to be a factory owner, pretty large size, 15,000 people in the factory. But now the SCRG is trying to make a different approach. We want to build an engineering platform for innovations. Because innovation starts from small, and when they are small, most factories is not willing to take them. And if there's a dedicated platform to support 0 to 10,000, you will greatly help innovations to materialize. And this is what SCRG is doing. And since we're called venture, we are also planning to transform ourselves into an engineering background investor.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And Derrick, yourself.
Okay, thanks, Eric. This is Derrick, and I am in a Shenzhen office here. I myself have like 15 years background on electronic manufacturing here in China, located in China, and I worked for different customers from Europe, from US, with some local suppliers here based in China. And during all my past years, we met with different customers, and also we met with different suppliers and see those changes for the past like 15 years. And that's good. There are good things, and then there are also bad experiences there. And I joined SCRG like 8 years ago as a PM. By the way, all my background of electronic manufacturing is frontline PMs here. That means I, like Eric mentions, that work as the ground force for our customers and working with our suppliers there. And SCRG refers to Supply Chain Resources Group, and we are known by a host business models or hybrid outsourced service team, and which means we have like all different functions like PM, quality, engineering, and materials management functions serving our customers to help them to manage their offshore supply chains or suppliers all over, let's say all over China, because currently we have offices here in Mexico, in the US, in Europe, and also in China, Thailand, Vietnam. Here, those areas are all like manufacturing base. So where there is manufacturing base, where we are, our office are. Okay, so I am here in Shenzhen, and we have one office in Shenzhen, and we have the major team here in China. That's all for SCRG. Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. That gives a good background from both of you. Well, let's start with we always talk at the beginning of these shows about the pandemic and the impact that it's having on the industry. We've heard from different parts of the world. Maybe you gentlemen can tell us a little bit about the impact that COVID is currently having on the industry in China. We know how it began, but where are things today? What has been the impact? And Chad, why don't I go back to you, sir?
China has been controlling the pandemic pretty well. The life in Shenzhen almost back to normal. The restaurants, public services are already open, and the factories are running normally. The challenge here, though, is that the supply chain, though, since China relies heavily on supply chain from globally, US, Korea, Japan, Europe, for components and major parts. The pandemic, since there's still a problem in Europe and the States it does create a problem in supply chain, and some of the components are already running a severe shortage. So let's say the environment here in Shenzhen and in China is generally okay, but the supply is still a challenge.
Interesting. Derrick, what's your view of it?
I think I basically agree with Chad. We are here almost here in China. We are, as you may know, that China has a relatively better control of those virus, those cases. But you may also see those news that we have time to time a small breakout in different areas of China, because there are too many imported cases, and those may get some issues with local control of this pandemic. But generally that's fine. And the impacts that I saw to the industry mainly reflects on our project efficiency, and also some impact to our suppliers. Referring to the efficiency, I can give you some examples there. For our some ongoing projects there, normally sometimes our people have to travel all over China, because there is suppliers all over China. But because of the time to time breakout of those small cases, smaller number of the cases there are a lot. Sometimes it causes a little bit of delay on the travels, or if there is a breakout, then you have to think about it if you are going to travel there, because if you travel back from those high risk area, you have to be quarantined for some days there. And also you may know that for our customers, and all our customers are from Europe or from US. For this time, it may be not convenient for them to travel to China to verify on-site the products, the progress, or things. So this is the efficiency perspective. And on the other hand, we have seen some of our suppliers, they got their customers got orders withdrawal. They canceled their orders because of those the pandemic. Some customers may get a little bit control of their investment. They may put on hold a little bit on their expense, on their business, or on our product strategy. So I see some suppliers have idle production lines there, and they have to make some layoff there. That's not a major issue for them, but I see that's the situation. And also from my personal view, I see some few cases that you may know from the news that some governments, some different countries' governments may get some lesson learned from this time of a pandemic. They are trying to encourage their companies to pull back a little bit their capacity or capability to their own countries. And this is not a major like situation, but this is going to be happening in a coming like months or years. Some of those capacity like PET or medical equipment manufacturing will be put back a little bit back to US or back to Europe to make sure. I think the main purpose of their country to make this kind of a strategy is to enable themselves have the self-supply ability in case in the future any like other emergency cases there. So that's the main impact that I see on from my own perspective.
Yeah, I think what you say about the reshoring of supply chains or reducing supply chain dependency by other countries, and particularly driven by governments, is really interesting and worth discussing. But just before we get to that, what you were saying about not being able to visit every location, I think is really interesting, because actually it's you having boots on the ground, which is the biggest benefit to your customer at the moment. Because if they're a customer in Silicon Valley, chances are they're not sending a team out to China to look after a new product introduction or to look after a ramp that's coming up for Christmas. Chad, is that something you see as well? Is there companies in Europe and in the US relying more on companies like yours and Derrick's to do their work on the ground?
For customers, in the past we had to work out this kind of model. Like our people do some like daily operations on different suppliers. Actually, by the way, all our like people, 90% of our people are traveling every day. You know, the suppliers' production line is their office, so they go to production lines. They are not sitting in the office of suppliers. They go to production lines. They work with the engineers of the suppliers and the operators of the suppliers to make sure, you know, quality is controlled, the issues are timely solved, and the solutions are provided to our customers. So after they get back to their office, then they make the summary of those reports on, hey, what the issue is, what are the solutions we take, and what is the future plan we have. What's your comments? Do you have any other further comments based on your knowledge or based on your background there? So that's basically how we are working here. And sometimes some customers may have like critical requirements on some specific products, then they may want to fly here to verify themselves. But now, you know, the working model is that we are authorized by our customers. We have a big authorization from our customer. Hey, you can decide if go or not go.
Yeah, so you become a deployed part of their team, don't you?
Yes, we have a bigger power of that, but a bigger power means more responsibilities, right? Yeah. Sometimes if we cannot make a decision because we have limited knowledge, because those like PDs from US, from Europe, they knows their products very well, they knows their designs. So sometimes we have to we make some decisions, and we have to verify those decisions results or consequences there. We produce some samples of, and then we ship them to US or Europe, and they get verified by our customers. And if they are okay, then we can go finally. But if they found some problems there in the feedback, we have conference call and they have feedback, and we make an improvement online. And then we ship another kind of examples to them. Samples to them, and they verify. And this, this back and forth, it takes a long
slow the process. Yeah, yes. There's an efficiency thing there. Chad, have you found that you've become kind of for some of the brands you work with, have you become their eyes and ears on the ground in China while they can't send people?
Actually, let's go back to the previous question. Before I got disconnected, I think this pandemic will make all the regions and countries reevaluate the supplies. because the past globalization has been cost efficiency driven. But pandemic is making people reevaluate the as a part of the national security, and for national security for the medical supplies, it's not cost efficient driven. It's safety driven. And even though manufacturing locally may not be the most cost efficient way, but it is for the part of the security plan. And I think for that that is a huge lesson we are all learning from this pandemic, and it may change the layout of the supply of material globally
around the world. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right there, Chad, and it's a huge kind of reset for the industry to think about that. And curiously, you mentioned some of the places you've got offices in, Derrick, like Vietnam. Some of those countries are winning more business as a result of people reducing supply chain dependency on China than perhaps the US. Where do you see those big trends? Is it mainly Mexico, Vietnam, Malaysia, or are there other countries that are winning in this reshoring or right-shoring debate?
Yes. For example, I think the dependency is I would say is a neutral word. It's not negative or passive. Globalization is creating dependency, and for most of the material of supplies, globalization, the dependency is actually a good thing, and I would say if it's a mutual dependency, everyone is dependent on the outside, and the RCEP was just signed last Sunday, and it reflects the truth that a free flow of material, labor, fund, and talents is still keeping as the mainstream for the economy, and isolation of business. I mean, even though we can see the phenomenon of isolation, but we believe the free flow of material and talents are still the mainstream. RCEP is just one example. EU is another one, and eliminating, even though we need to rebalance security and cost efficiency, but I think it's only a balance. We can't go extreme.
Okay, and do you think actually people understanding that total cost of ownership discussion, so they understand what the cost of offshoring is that part of the challenge? Do people struggle to consider cost over price and get a clear understanding of that? Derrick, what do you think when you look at your customers?
From our experience here, like some of our customers, we have seen this trend in our current customers that some will want to move to like Southeast Asia countries there, and partly because of the cost. They have like some lower cost, especially operators, some lower cost, and for some other reasons, like because the tariff reasons there, they want to move there. But what I see from our experience or what happening here is that even when we move there, like Chad mentions globalization. I totally agree with him that the world is not going to be like closed to each other. The world is the different countries down the world is going to and well open to each other. For example, our customers, we moved some they moved some production lines from China, from Shanghai to like Hanoi there, and you know, the process is that they first of all they moved the assembly line there, and then we have all those like PCBAs or some critical components, for example, metal or plastic, battery. This critical is manufactured here in China, and after like maybe half years later, they can produce some of those components there. For example, they can have their own supply chains of plastic or metal parts or even batteries and packing all the supplies locally. That's good things. So we see those kind of the capabilities or the capacities grow in Vietnam, and also we see some like a rundown of China to do they have the actual capacity to do some other projects there. So basically, for people in our team, we have this kind of what do we call it? A trade-off between different branches here. Yeah. We have offices in Vietnam, and we have some projects last year who our people are working on here in China and now moved to Vietnam. But we are happy to see our team in Vietnam also growing here. We have 10 people here last year, and now we have like 15 people there in Vietnam. So for companies, they have to have to me, I think those companies have to have like a strategic eye on this. A phenomenon here is that even now some like a critical, like a contract manufacturer, they moved to Vietnam from China. They do have some local suppliers, local manufacturer there, but we see in our company, our customers, they still use some like companies that they are using in China, and they ask the company or the manufacturer themselves set up a new branches to there, and they ramp up there. So I don't think this kind of a reshoring is a bad thing. If we look at in the past 50 years, there is the first wave transfer. I mean, the manufacturing transfer from the U.S., Europe to Asia, right. Specifically to China. So China benefited from that a lot. For the past 40 years, we have to say China benefited from the first time of transfer of manufacturing from US to China. And now we are happy to see this kind of transfer happening from China to Vietnam, to Thailand, or to Malaysia, or sometimes it may be happening in Africa. That's good. And we have what we call, every country has their comparative advantage. I think, I'm not sure this is the correct word, but yeah. I mean that China has its advantages and then Vietnam has its disadvantages at a different time stage. So basically it's not a bad thing. And the people in our company, they're very calm on this kind of change. We have kind of a global sourcing. Sometimes our customers have some like a sourcing. Our team will actively check with our Vietnam team, hey, do you have a better solution on this customer requirements? Yeah. And sometimes they'll come back, yes, I have a cost-effective way, but I'm a little bit concerned of this supplier's quality. So let's do it in parallel. You find some of your sources there, we find my sources here. We combine them together and come up with a final like a solution to our customer. Yeah. This is a good examples for a co-work between China and Vietnam.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask, because I think with reshoring, and I think what you're saying makes sense, that after it migrated decades ago from the U.S. there for more the low value stuff, China has grown up into the value chain, producing and doing much more high value type work. And so while some of the lower value work may be offshoring now, right, to Vietnam and these other areas, within that doesn't mean the industry is leaving China, obviously, because then we have companies, and that's why, Chad, to come back to you, I think of what you're doing there, right? You're you're not running, like you said, you had a factory before. What you're doing now is more of kind of really the development piece of it, right? You're doing the prototyping, the design, you're doing that and developing this for clients, right? So within that shift in reshoring, there's also been a growth and opportunity within China. So to speak a little to that, if you would, please, sir. Chad.
Yes, and this part of the how you vision the business in the coming 30 years. Because the running business is like if you follow the trend, the trend will bring you the success. If you fight against the trend, that'll be a tough challenge. For myself, the trend I am looking at is that for the coming 30 years, it will be the era of AI and IoT. And this is also the reason why I want to create a new business model, because I would say in the coming 30 years, AI and IoT will completely, fundamentally transform the current manufacturing model. If you look back to the history, the industry has been always migrating to a lower cost area, from US to Japan, Korea, Taiwan, China, and now to Southern Asia. It always goes to the place with a lower labor cost and overall operation cost. But AI, if you combine AI and robotics, you will see a smart machine that can completely take the role of human being. It could handle the complicated work as human being is doing. And if that is coming true, I would say the migration of industry may reverse. Instead of going to a low cost developing country, you will gradually migrate back to developed countries like US, Japan, Europe. Because for those smart machines, what you need is not cheap labor. What you need is a well-educated, skilled technician and engineer to maintain and design the robotics.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, Chad. And I think that idea that automation and autonomy, which is what you're talking about with the AI element, is something that will change the way we look at supply chain footprints and push us away from cheap labor environments and perhaps proximity to the consumer, proximity to innovation becomes even more important. Is that what you see?
Yes, definitely, and also that's also what we're doing. Since based on this vision of business, we say why don't we create a platform? It looks like a factory, but it's actually attachment for engineering and development. Currently, what we focus on is a B2B solutions. How we can help B2B solution. I mean that how we can help a startup company or a corporate to build a solution that can replace human being or make to make the work that's not friendly for human being to work. Say very dangerous as environment. That's a machine could perform better than human being. And the B2B is the focus we're making up. But if you look at B2B, the character of a B2B project is that it's very low volume. You may see only several hundreds annually, and it's very complicated, and it's very challenging. And even though there are hundreds of thousands of factories in Southern Asia, in China, but most factories are consumer electronics oriented. Foxconn Electronics, even my own factory I owned before. Those factories are all based on large volume delivery, very uniform assembly, and ship in tens of thousands every day. But you can hardly find a partner that could help you to engineering and assemble of the most complicated but very low volume products. But that's the trend. I believe will represent the most potential business in the coming 30 years.
You know, that's interesting. Because, let me just add though, Philip, because Chad, that's interesting because in an interview I did earlier today, that we were discussing that very issue, and one of the speakers said that it's really that mid-value, mix type stuff that'll really be the norm, more of the norm moving forward. It won't be these huge factories like you're saying with millions of widgets coming out, right? It's going to be more the mid-volume, and a lot of customization of products, right? So I think that's what you're speaking to there. And so do you see yourself then positioning your company to kind of to service in that area?
Completely, and that's why I purposely built a factory in a skyscraper, and we are the first factory that's operating in a fancy 40-floor skyscraper with a helicopter landing ground on top of the roof.
Wow!
Oh wow!
Because what we need here is not labor. What we need here is a skilled technician, and the technician to keep those talents. We need to have a good working environment, and it's more like a workshop attached to engineering and R&D shop rather than a factory.
So do you see a lot of investment in that smart factory, that autonomous automated factory approach in China and specifically in Shenzhen? Is that something that Shenzhen is a hotbed for now?
Yes, and I can see almost every factory in Shenzhen is investing heavily in automation.
Okay.
I'm wondering, Derrick, do you see the same trend?
I saw that in our customers. We did have like automation lines to investment in. Although at the current stage, automation is still a huge investment to them, but our customers still determined to invest in that. No, I agree. I can agree more with Chad on what he said just now. The time of high volume, low mix. That is the typical EMS model in the past like decades. The time is gone. In the future, the prevailing trend is low volume, high mix. Okay, that's the reason why the automation is going to be promising in the coming years. And I also, from my customer, besides the automation, the smart factory, from our company has a lot of different customers, and we see our preliminary target customer is those kind of startups in Silicon Valley. So that's the primary target customers for us. But now we are seeing more and more like industry giants. As we know, a lot of those kind of industry giants customers, they are setting up they are entering some like a small startups, internal startups. Yeah. And those kind of a startups refers to, they are smart, they are innovative, and they are flexible in terms of the investment, in terms of technology, IP, all things. So they are very energetic, and they are they represent the hope of the companies. That's my personal opinion there. So, and to us, this kind of trend provides a space for companies like us. We help them. This company has typically, they are very strong at their design. They have very good ideas. They have good creation things, and they have a promise in marketing, and maybe they are relatively a little bit weak on their supply chain. So we are intervene to help them to improve or enhance their supply chain. That's the reason we have. And in our customers, some of them have like they invested some of those automation lines. Some are very successful, some are not. But even with those failed cases, it doesn't mean it's not a trend we are going to work on. No, especially based on the different products characters. Some products, they are very suitable to use automation lines, but of course some of those current products maybe not. But it doesn't mean it's not the trend. That's what I see from our company. Yes.
Yeah. And are you seeing, you talked about that automation and digital transformation in the factory. What about that in terms of the business processes, in terms of the supply chain, in terms of purchasing and inventory control, shipping direct to consumer? Are you seeing big changes in the way that that side of the supply chain works, Chad?
I think the transformation is happening gradually. Currently the business we are looking at now is more of a B2B to C. That's from supplier to retailer, like even though it's online, like Amazon or other Alibaba or others, and then to consumers. But in the future, I believe the C2B will you can see more and more a C2B model to emerge. I would suggest you to the Alibaba. Alibaba just launched their smart factory to making fabric, make clothes. That's been running in Thailand for years. That's very interesting task. And the idea, fundamental idea behind it is that the C2B, how a C2B could be deployed. Because clothes has the most desirable customization. Every people want to have a unique
customization size.
Yes. Yeah. And relatively is not that difficult. Because as soon as you can deploy enough automation, customization could be achieved. So I think the evolution may start from low tech, easy to implement industry, and gradually to more complicated, more challenging technology intensive industry. But I myself believe C2B will be the ultimate trend.
Yeah.
You mean customization from like end users?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole supply chain from customized order online to direct fulfillment from the factory or from staging or from whatever else, and that very much plays into the business models both of you have.
Hey, let me, as I'm talking here, and we spoke a little bit before, but I'd like to revisit the whole component supply side, the component supply base, because China is seen as one of the great strengths is always being so dominant in the component supply base, right? And having those component suppliers there. And Derrick, you were saying how you go out and you visit with some of those people too, right? So, and yet, Chad, you were talking about how, that the supply chains are challenged there by not having some critical components that need to be exported into China. And probably a lot of that has more to do with on the semiconductor side, I'm assuming, is really this. So I'm wondering, because with China's also committing to becoming self-sufficient in the semiconductor industry, right? So there's a movement towards that to become, I think, with the whole reshoring, with all the politics and everything that's gone on this year, that's another side of that, is that China says, well, we need to have our own as well. So we're going to invest and develop, and you have the infrastructure for that. So how do you see those dynamics playing out? How do you see that strength of the component supply base within China still. And maybe Derrick, go with you first on that.
Okay. So a typical example to that is, recently, especially for recent like 3 or 4 years, in the EMS industry, like cost is always the first thing for customers. Sorry, besides quality, cost is always be, let's say, the second thing the customers have to think about. So normally we will do, once a product is launched, once it's ramped up, then it goes into the mass production, the priority is going to make some like a cost down solutions to make sure, in the MPS stage, the money, a huge money invested into. And then when it comes into the mass production, we have to do some like a cost down, and then we will have some solutions for cost reduction programs there. And for the past 4 years, for the past recent 4 years, that one of those cost reduction solution is to find alternative parts. Mm-hmm. Previously, we have that kind of alternative parts mostly on like package things, right? We can have we have that high quality suppliers there to make sure we have the on-time delivery in the MPS stage. And then we won't have time and we'll have the capacity, we won't have the energy, then we go back to sourcing some like other parts, like a relatively lower quality but a huge cost saving solutions for customers. That's normally what we did in the past. But recently, the alternative parts solutions goes into like electronic components areas. For example, the resistance, sometimes even the IC. Okay, that's one IC. And you may see from this change, you see the China components level, whatever quality or capabilities, they are goes into dramatically like this way, grows dramatically. So one of, I can give you specific numbers of that. One of our customers, they used our local source. We suggested or recommended a local source of like an IC of that. It takes a long time to qualify the parts, and maybe like 3 or 4 months to qualify that parts, because it's related to the design of things. But once we did that, once the qualification is done, we introduce the customers into our mass production, it saves the millions of dollars for our customers. So this is a good example to show you that the China's components level suppliers growth. And for the other side, I can give you another like mechanical parts examples there.
Before we jump into that, I did want to have Chad speak kind of some to the semiconductor side too, and with the design that you're doing and what your comments before about the about being constrained by what was coming in. How do you view that with the China developing its own semiconductor technologies now and moving? So you'll have to adjust to those as well and incorporate that into the work that you do.
I think the part of the value of globalization is how to take advantage of the resources globally. Which resource has the most efficient supply? And semiconductor is actually a very good example of robotics, because you've talked about there are a huge diversity of components. Some components are cost labor rated, like mechanical parts, plastic, and etc. And those parts are dominated in China, but the semiconductor is very highly automated industry. The production cost is a very minor section of the cost, and it is research development is extensive industry. That's why the US, Japan has been leading this industry. I think even though China could develop their own semiconductor, but it is not the most efficient way. Unfortunately, the economy has its own dependency. We are living in the real world, and the economy is only part of the life. It is affected by politics and ideology. And what I can see from industry point of view, building a semiconductor in China is not the best cost efficient way, but the ban from US is actually creating making it as a security level issue, just like Philip mentioned earlier. If the supply gets to the level of security, it's not cost driven anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe if you look at a longer parameter of time, say several decades from now, I would say even though China may successfully develop its industry of semiconductor, but you will see a rebalance between US made or Japan made semiconductor, because the competition is always good. Competition will be. I mean, it's not like a boxing. It's one to knock out the opponent. It's not that way. In many ways, in many cases, competition is actually making both parties, making a healthier business and the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it creates a better environment, and I think China has always had that advantage in terms of supply chain, and I see it maintaining that because it's the sheer volume. You've got $4 trillion worth of manufacturing going on in the country, so that has a huge impact. What do you see as the big trends when you look to 2021? We've talked a lot about the longer distant future, but in the short term, we've got new president coming in the US. We've got everybody having a chance to rethink what they're doing with their manufacturing and learning lessons perhaps from the pandemic. What do you think are the key trends for 2021 as we go forward? Derrick, maybe you could go first on that.
Okay. In China, a common sense here is that whatever it's the new president of the US is on board, however it's on board or not, the policy, the US to China may not change dramatically or quite differently in the short term. So a prevailing ideas here in China is that China must have its own ability on some very critical technologies. This is coming to a common sense thing in China. For example, you may know that the current Huawei case. So some other companies here, especially high-tech companies here, especially when those companies who has to rely on like IC from US or Japan or Korea or Europe, but for those kind of a company, they have to think about their own way, a secured way of their supply chain. And the other thing here, similar like IC, is like this is also talked a lot in China, is the precise machining technology also. So all things, and then also like software. We have some kind of cases here. So whatever kind of Biden is on board, or he may not have different policies to China, but this is common sense. Then China has to develop its own abilities of some critical components or technologies there. So to get to the self-feeding, what they call self-feeding abilities, okay? And from supply chain perspective, China, and actually this is China's government strategy. This is also written in you may know that it's written in a 14th five-year plan there. China is going to make its industry upgrading there. Mm-hmm. And the industry upgrading is mainly referring to, like you may know, that the smiling curve theory. So from a supply chain perspective, China is going to, I think the China government is also encouraging those companies to go into a upper stream, what do we call the upper stream of the supply chain, rather than downstream there, because that there is add more values there. Yeah. I think every country is pursuing that to go to the dominating technology and components level. So and this is normal. And China is basically they're investing money, investing energy, investing policy on this kind of areas to help those companies to move to the upper stream of the supply chain. Okay. And of course, this trend has been happening for years, that some capacities of assembling lines is continuing to move to Southeast Asia, like Vietnam or Thailand. Actually, it's already happening, so that's the reason why we have offices there. But in the future, that does not mean that China will have all his capabilities or capacities to move out, but he will keep some necessary process or capacities there for the safety reasons or security reasons there. But most of those capacities will be at least aimed to be the high-tech capacities or like capabilities.
High value, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So moving up value stream. Chad, how do you see things in 2021?
I think my own feeling of the past almost 11 months for 2020 is like riding a roller coaster, and it's random design roller coaster. You never can predict what the next turn will be and where it's heading to. And I think the roller coaster ride is not running to end yet, and 2021 will still be part of it. So I say there will be more unexpected turning ahead of us, even though we don't know where is the turning point and where is heading for.
So
yes.
So does that means you've got to remain agile, remain resilient, and expect the unexpected?
I think if you look at there is a political structure and a industry structure in the country or globally, and when a structure is built, there will be a political order and industry order to be established as people follow the rule of game. Yeah. What I can see, that's the current, the past order has been running for decades, and it was a compromise of interest of many countries and many industry, and it's not running perfectly, but it's running okay in the past several decades. But now it seems to getting to the point that's somewhat major player is not happy with it, and they want to break the order and set up a new order. Mm-hmm. And during the process of breaking the order and set up a new order, there will be a huge chaos.
Gotcha.
So currently we are in the middle of breaking the old order and establishing the new order. But eventually, there will be chaos and the fighting, negotiation, compromise. Eventually, before that order is established, we'll continue to see unexpected surprises.
Yeah, something to look forward to. I think it's, as I hear you talking about this, I think of the old adage, you know, looking at 2020, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So hopefully we come out of this year a little stronger, and having survived, you know, what is clearly will go down in the history books as one of the strangest, most challenging, you know, years probably in many, many centuries. So, gentlemen, I'm going to have to bring this to a close because I'm looking down. I was following the conversation. I realized we almost hit the top of the hour here. So we've gone, we've gone quite a bit here. What I would like to do, well, I'd like to thank you both for taking time and sharing with us here today and joining in. And I think this would be good to revisit maybe in the new year, maybe get together in the first quarter or so and speak again and see what's happening. Obviously there'll be some more changes on the, but at least on the political environment side, that will maybe some things will be changing, and it would be good to stay in touch with what's happening in China on the ground there. And I think both of you gentlemen are great ambassadors for that. So so thank you for your time today. To our audience, if you have any interest, both of our gentlemen here, you'll have their contact information, Derrick and Chad, both on the ground there in Shenzhen, both able to help people who are maybe a little curious about what's happening over there and need some help over there. I think you have two excellent sources right here on the screen for you. So, so gentlemen, thank you for your time today. Thank you for this. Let's revisit this again in the new year, and let me wish you happy holidays as we move forward into the end of the year. And I hope it's uneventful for all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay safe on that roller coaster.
Stay safe.
Exactly.